What's up, guys? We are Goal Lounge. We're back again. We're back for the cool down as ever. I see we've got some happy fellas in the room tonight. I'm obviously not one because half of my squad has COVID. Our fearless leader Claudio is unfortunately not available tonight, but he's left us. And I'm hoping he's watching us, so we'll see if he drops any comments. We've got Wonga there, the Gunnosaurus, who hasn't seen much of the sunshine in a while. We've got Mosa, who's Mosa's flying at the moment, and I think he would count himself as a title challenger. And then you got Celo there scoring goals that don't really exist, but they exist somehow. I don't know, VAR. What can we say? What can we say? He'll explain himself.
I don't talk about it. I don't talk about it.
And we've got Spurs, Spurs, Matinho, the biggest fan in South Africa, who will be joining us in the next few minutes. I think he's letting builders out or something. This is the problems we have in South Africa. But anyway. Celo, talk to me. Celo, talk to me. I know Richard was very vocal, our resident West Ham fan, that he wasn't too chuffed with one or two decisions. He thought that West Ham were on top of you in the first half. What do you think? What is your breakdown of a very good win, as you actually called another away win from home?
Yeah, no, I think. Man, it's one of those. I think a team that doesn't take their chances ends up ruining their missed chances when the other team eventually gets their chances. You know, West Ham were all over us the first half. They hit the post. Sebastian Heller ran through and goal and then slipped. And Jared Bowen was quite lively that first half. So yeah, West Ham could have easily scored 2-3 goals and wrapped it up. They messed it up. Then in the second half, we get a lucky break with the clearance that seemed to have gone out and came back in. But I think
out and came back in.
There was no. But you know, if you kick a ball, you can curve, right? You know, you can.
It's true.
Yeah. So
nonetheless. So I don't blame Man United. I blame the guys who set up the VAR. But yeah,
exactly. So Man United just takes advantage of whatever the call was. You still have to score from
100%.
that benefit. You know what I mean?
100%.
And Pogba hit the ball sweetly, and the goalkeeper had no chance there. Man. I think the performance in the second half was spurred on by Bruno Fernandes and Rashford coming on. Some Man United fans weren't happy that they didn't start, but I think they need to remember that Rashford came off in midweek with a bit of an injury, and also apparently had a niggling injury as well. So I think he didn't want to play them from the start because of that, knowing how much football there is. You know, you play Wednesday, you play Saturday, you play Tuesday, then you play Saturday, and it's all big games. You know what I mean? There's no hiding from these games. There's no League Cup or third round of FA Cup to hide from. All these games are important. So, you know, you've got a match tonight against Leipzig. So I'm guessing that Rashford and Bruno will be starting. So at least they didn't have to play the whole first 45. But Man United again away from home. We did the business coming back again after conceding. You know, I think Solskjaer was even saying that. Depending on who scores the first goal determines how you play the rest of the game. So he's kind of saying that he doesn't know how to galvanize his troops without them conceding a goal, which is unfortunate, you know, because we need to get some clean sheets to take up the table, because there'll be games where we play against much tougher opposition where it won't be as easy to break down their defense, and if we're letting goals in. Then it won't be, we won't get the required win. So it's good against the mid-table teams where we can, we've got the firepower to overcome and outscore them. But the top six, you need to have a good defense, and it's small margins in those games. It's a 1-0 a 2-1. You know what I mean? So you can't rely on the second half performance.
I think Selo, you spoke about it now. And also, you touched on it. I mean, another come from behind victory. I think I read some stat where I think you've acquired 15 points. Correct me if I'm wrong, Selo, from losing positions already this season, if I'm not mistaken, or in the last sort of.
It sounds right. It sounds right.
Yeah, and I mean that's obviously something to build on, and hopefully for your sake you can actually turn that away form into home form. But tell me something. A player like Paul Pogba, you know, I'm a big fan of his, and I think if Solskjaer can get him right, you know, he can prove to be that sort of difference. Yes, the goal might have not stood if the ball was actually out, but the quality of the goal, we have to speak about it. I mean, and what is quite unfortunate is these reports of his agent coming out and talking about him wanting to leave is just something you as a fan, and I think as a Premier League fan, you don't actually want to hear, because we want the best players in the world in the league. So I don't know. Is there any truth in it? Is it him actually talking up a move so he can make a payday? What is the situation?
Man, that agent, man, you know his clients. Everyone knows who his clients are. They are quite the most charismatic, polarizing figures in football. Mario Balotelli, Pogba, Ibra, so those are his clients, and he's always trying to stir up something, you know what I mean? He was even speaking about Erling Haaland, and saying that Solskjaer shouldn't be comparing Haaland to Lukaku. He should be comparing Haaland to Ibra, and he should actually stop focusing on Haaland and actually focus on Pogba and making sure that Pogba's the best player, getting the best out of Pogba. He said that in the same interview. It's the same interview. So he said all of this about Pogba needs to move. Pogba's time at Man United is over. He needs to move in the next transfer window. And then obviously he touched on Erling Haaland, and then he threw shade at Solskjaer. I think he definitely doesn't like Solskjaer. Threw shade at Solskjaer. And then he also spoke about his other clients, like Verratti, that Verratti won't leave PSG, like the AC Milan goalkeeper, Donnarumma, might leave, whatever. So he spoke about a lot of his clients, but obviously the ones where he was throwing shade and causing tensions was Pogba, particularly. And man, the guy's rubbish, man. So Sir Alex said it.
But to be fair, I think the guy has a strong point that potentially it is about time that Pogba leaves Man United, given the lack of time that's received from Ole.
I don't mind him. I don't mind him talking about his client, right? But he should. By the timing of talking about it, we're in the beginning of December. There's nothing much happening right now. You can't leave next week. There's no club that can sign you next week, because January is only a month away. So at least maybe start this thing on the 31st of December and say, I think Pogba is a new club. Then we can say, okay, cool. The January transfer window opens on the 1st of January. Then some club can actually come in for Pogba. He's got 18 months left in his contract. Then boom, he can leave. You know what I mean? So I love Pogba as well, but I can't defend his agent. And also,
Are you on the camp which would rather have Pogba stay at Man United, or on the camp that would have him go? Because I've had conversations with a lot of Man United fans, and it seems like there's a lot of doubts about Pogba's abilities and his value to the Man United camp. And just out of interest,
I don't doubt his ability, but I just don't like the whole focus around him. It takes a lot away from the good team. So imagine now we had this good victory. We were fourth up until Leicester and Southampton won their games. We were fourth in the table, on a good run, 9 games unbeaten away from home. But then what happens now? Monday happens. Now the focus is taken away, and now we've got our biggest game of the season today, and we've got the biggest game of our Premier League season against our rivals on Saturday. You know what I mean? The biggest week of Man United season, and then he says all the stuff. So it takes away a lot of the focus. The fans are supposed to be galvanized and thinking about the game tonight and Saturday. And now we saying that, hey, man, this guy needs to leave. He needs to leave. He needs to leave. He needs to leave. And I can imagine, I don't know if obviously such news actually filters into the change room. You know what I mean? Because this happened yesterday and they were flying to Germany. So this news must have filtered in somehow. Someone must have seen it. And now it's going to leave a sour taste, man, because Pogba is not going to, he's never actually ever come out and said that his agent is rubbish or whatever. Or I want to leave my agent or cancel the relationship or whatever. Only person that's left him is in the recent years that's big is Lukaku. But I've never seen Pogba come out and saying that, no, I don't agree with what my agent said. You know what I mean? He's never said so. So that it just takes too much, man. It takes too much.
I think Scott's just said that. I mean, it's big. It's big. The agent could come out and actually, speak up a big game, as Scott actually says. But is Pogba actually speaking out and sort of defending his club and his teammates? Because how do you sit in a change room with a player who has possibly said that, especially against RB Leipzig today, where you guys need to win the game, or you at least need to get a result to hopefully qualify. As Scott rightly says, it is a tough game, a big game in the sort of spectrum of the season for Solskjaer and the rest of the players. But I'm going to ask you, Musa, what are your thoughts on and Selo? I know we've spoken at length of my thoughts on Harry Maguire, but in terms of Man United and their striking force and the way they can actually, they've proven that they can score goals. They have also proven that they are susceptible at the back. You've played as a centre back in the professional ranks, and you've played at a level where the understanding of look at Mourinho right now. He's clean sheet after clean sheet. What needs to change there? Because if you look at the league table, Man United are not far off. They're in sixth place. They've proved that they can score goals. They've proved that they can come back. But in the long run of the season, are those leakages at the back gonna affect them?
Yeah, man. I remember growing up in learning football and the likes, and you always have managers that would come out to say, strikers will win your games and defenders will win your seasons. And that's something that stuck cord with me a long time over watching football. You'll really notice that some of the best teams that do come out to win cups, trophies, seasons, and leagues, they do tend to close shop at the back. And a case in point, as you mentioned, there, Nick, would be a Mourinho type of approach. Might not be the most extravagant in terms of showing the flair and the attacking prowess going forward. But one thing he knows how to do is close shop at the back. And that has given him accolades across the world, right? He's won the most prestigious tournaments in and around the world in the biggest league in the world. So it is a concerning factor, and you could see it even with all the Man United attacking players, that they do recognize that hey, what's up, Mr. Man?
Yeah, sorry I'm late, guys.
You let the bubble
Nearly
out.
didn't make it, but I realised, I did finally, and I realised I couldn't leave one guy on his own to talk about that game because it would have just been too hard.
I was hoping
in your yard there. Getting that out is might be tough.
We haven't got into that game yet. Don't worry. Just
okay. Cool. I'll just hold on to myself.
Talking about how sometimes it's important for teams like Man United not to concede goals pretty early into their games, because it's not the best approach when you're going in to win a game to have to come back from behind and have to fight a good fight and have to test your character, test the team's ability to actually pull out a result. Because sometimes you find there will be managers like Mourinho who can get a 1-0 and then close shop. The day will be frustrating for him and Man United outfit. It will be frustrating for all the attacking players once the team like Tottenham don't go out and go and look for more adventures to attack. And that's a big concern for Man United right now. I think the leadership at the back isn't as strong as it should be. They do concede too many goals. The scary thing is they also concede them too early. Generally, you'd want a team to concede, if it does concede, once the game is kind of set, once the manager is testing out new options and putting new players on the field, looking at different combinations that could come into play. But if it happens early, it really does put a team on the back foot. And fair credit to Man United, the character has been showing. The players do have the resolve to get the result after going down, but that isn't sustainable in terms of how to win a season. It's not the most ideal approach to go 7 games, 8 games, 10 games coming behind.
Yeah, and I think
you,
I mean, we spoke about it. Sorry, Wonga, you go for it.
Yeah, no, I was saying if you look at, I mean, just the way that West Ham played. I mean, so I remember last week you were saying that it was going to be a definite walkover, but the whistle blew. I mean, that wasn't. I mean, the first half obviously it wasn't the case, and I mean, even the second half, West Ham had many chances to put, well, not many. I'd say 1 or 2 chances to put the game away. To bed, and you know, a team that, like, you know, you as a Man United fan don't fear, not saying, look, these guys shouldn't be a problem. We're really a problem. It could have been lost points at the end of the day. Yeah, Man United did well to get back, but if you're looking to win a league, especially the Premier League, you got to be better than Liverpool, and you can see the difference. And I think, at the back,
and
definitely Maguire needs to change.
Yeah, and I think if you look at you know, the Man United that won all those titles under Ferguson, you know, you generally had that feel that if you went a goal behind at any stage in the game, that was it.
Yeah.
Like, how are you going to get back? Because, you know, they had that solidity at the back. They had the likes of your leaders that actually started at the back and drove the whole team forward. But I mean, you know, in sort of your defense, Selo, I mean, you guys have something good going forward. You guys are scoring goals. You know, Fernandes has arguably changed your team in the last couple of months, and I think building a team around him, but more so actually building your team around a foundation at the back will possibly hold you in good stead moving forward. But a team that looks like they're on the ascendancy and slowly becoming unstoppable is your team, Musa. Chelsea 3-1 win against a tricky Leeds team, who I think everyone possibly thought a banana skin, a Leeds that would probably go for it. How do you think this turned out for you?
Yeah, man, I'm very happy with the result. Leeds is quite a challenging team to go up against. They've got legs on their team. They've got quality players who actually want to go out and express themselves. The managers instill that approach where they don't back down, right? They can come up against Man City. They can come up against Liverpool. They can come up against ourselves and bring a game to us, and as opposed to actually going for a defensive approach. And the result we got, I think, is really, really good. It's testament to the vision and the focus that the club is currently relying on. I think these type of performances, if you look at it in like context of what we did the previous week against Tottenham and then coming to Leeds, it shows a little bit of maturity, right, in the team and the whole management approach, where there are some games where we're going to have to take the game to the opponents, and others where we have to be considerate about which opponents we're facing. And that was shown in like the game against Tottenham, where we had to really, really be measured and kind of be aware that these guys are looking for just one goal and then they're going to close shop. Whereas at Leeds, even if they get one goal, they'll open up and they'll continue to express themselves, where we just kept on plugging away showing the character that we needed to show. I think it was a brilliant.
And I think the resurgence of Olivier Giroud is quite spectacular. If we actually, you know, if we break it down, I mean, there was talk of him. There was talk of Newcastle getting him at one stage in the transfer window earlier this season because he just wanted to play football to make the front squad. But now he looks like a real player for you guys, where you can actually use him throughout the season. When the likes of your Werners and your Abrahams aren't firing, you've got a guy who can't stop scoring. What do you think of his form at the moment?
Really, really good, man. Like what I'm excited about at the moment at Chelsea is the fact that so many of our players are looking good when they get the opportunity. You know, like you see a Giroud, whenever he gets an opportunity to come onto the field, he actually gives the coach something to think about, something to consider about the next few games. And that's exciting, right? Tammy Abrams is probably thinking to himself at training, what does he do to improve? what does he do to get a call up for the next game, you know? And that's a good place for this team with all the quality that has been purchased to be at, because there's about 8 or 9 attacking players that can be replaceable and interchangeable, and they're all firing on all cylinders, which is exciting.
I saw something on Sky Sports actually, which was quite interesting. They created another starting 11 that is completely and like Kevin's saying it right now, the depth that they've got a whole new starting 11 that could arguably finish in the top 6 in the Premier League. Guys that are not starting at the time or who are potentially injured, and I think I spoke a lot about Spurs' depth, and arguably Chelsea probably have a bit more depth than Spurs. So are we not maybe maybe looking at a 3-horse race at the moment with the likes of Chelsea? Matt, what do you think? Do you think Chelsea can push you guys all the way? You and Liverpool?
Oh, definitely. I mean, Mourinho said it. Are we even one of the horses yet? You know, it's there's still a long way to go, and no doubt Spurs are doing better than we've done in a very long time. But you can't discount Chelsea. You know, the depth they've got. Lampard's found a system that works. Like Spurs, they've tightened up at the back significantly since the beginning of the season, and along with us, they're one of the lowest conceders in the league. So I think they're a serious contender in the league race, and what's awesome about Chelsea at the moment, Azor, is that they've got those options. You talk about Giroud and Abraham and Werner, and Werner's maybe not, seems to be having a rough couple of games, but you take him off and put on Giroud, and who's all of a sudden, he was never a big goal scorer. That was never really the primary part of his game. He was a creator, and he held up, he pulled defenders out of place, and now he's just found that goal scoring touch. I think it's to do with the system. I think Lampard's found out how to unlock his goal scoring potential, and I think it works phenomenally well. Chelsea are going to have a lot to say in this title race, and the depth is a big part of it. They can lose 5-6 players and like you said, replace them like for like, and it shouldn't affect their performances. It's phenomenal.
I guess the only position that is doesn't have as much depth would be the goalkeeping department, where if we do lose a Mendy, it's going to be a little bit of a headache for Frank to replace him with Kepa, and you then worry about how his head is, where his focus is, and all this.
You don't trust
Speaking about the goalkeeper, was that? Do you think Mendy could have done better with that first goal?
Yeah, he came out and then stopped and then went for it again. He could have done a lot better there, because it's important that you make the decision early and then sticks to it. But I guess, he's going to have fumbles. He's going to have a few mistakes in him over a season, as all keepers will. But the character of coming back and players keeping their heads on and keeping everything professional was the most exciting part for me after that,
Yeah. I think if you're looking at Frank Lampard, and he spoke earlier this season, and he said something quite sarcastically, but in a way to the media, saying you lot as the media think that I have no pressure to win anything, and he says he does, because he's like, any manager in the Chelsea job has pressure, but I somehow think he actually is going at this with a free hit, because he's not going to get sacked if he finishes in the top 4 and doesn't win the league. I think he can really have a go and try out, and he stumbled a little bit in the beginning, and he can try out different combinations to see what works for him. Remember, he's going to qualify now out of the Champions League group, and we spoke about this earlier. It isn't a sprint, it's a marathon, and how is he going to deal with it? And is that depth going to have to come into play? Players are going to be fighting for World Cup spots. So at the end of the day, Frank maybe has a free hit here where he could potentially go and try. If he fails, if he fails and he's short by 6, 7, 8 points, that's a good showing compared to last season.
I think what Lampard has in his favor is that he's a former player under Roman Abramovich, so he's got a little bit. There's already a relationship between the two of them, where Roman Abramovich loves him as a player and respects him as a player. And he said, "Cool, last season was your first chance. You didn't have new signings, so that I don't even count. Next season, I give you some signings, and then if you improve on what you did in the first season, I can give you another chance. So as long as he's improving, which he has done, I think then he, as you said, he's got a free hit and he won't be fired as long as he's in the top 4 and improves on what he did last season. I think if he can end top 3 and maybe get semi-final in the Champions League and maybe an FA Cup win, something, like just something that
some type of silverware with the squad.
Yeah, even a Champions League semi-final is almost like it's not silverware, but it's like it shows that okay, cool, this guy actually can win against big teams and take a team deep into a tough tournament like the Champions League, or win an FA Cup where he lost it in the final last season.
And I mean, it is a bit of a catch-22. Like I say, it is maybe a free hit, but if he does go and win something, or he finishes in a position that is very admirable for a young coach, if you want to call it that. He's got that sort of job security probably for the next 2-3 years. But under Abramovich, he is very trigger happy, and if he's not happy, he will get rid. I do understand where you're coming from, Celo. Yes, he is one of the founding members of the era, but the man is spending a lot of money, and he needs to eventually deliver. And I think, if we're looking at a season where something could happen that's a bit crazy, where we have 3 teams going into the final day that could potentially win it, who knows? And I wouldn't write it off right now. But talking about a team that used to be in those races, I think Scott alluded to it. He said that Arsenal used to be there, but Arsenal are below Newcastle at the moment. That is incredible. And we've played less games than you, Wonga. So that I'm so happy about that. So let's ask you. Kevin says there that you're in a relegation scrap. And I think he mentions there's something Champions League run in top 4. I think he's alluding to Chelsea. But Wonga, tell us about the famous Arsenal. We used to sing a song, 1-0 to the Arsenal. Wasn't that's how it used to go, Matt? 1-0 to the Arsenal. They used to score, you would never be able to beat them. But now it seems as though it's always 1-0 against Arsenal.
Yeah, that's only legend now. That was a long time ago.
Back when Arsenal used
any kids don't believe it. Yeah. No, but I like last week. I think even when I did my prediction, it's exactly what I expected from Arsenal and Tottenham as well. I know many people. Okay, let me not speak for Matt, but I know people are not for Mourinho the way he's playing. But I don't know. I mean, look, as an Arsenal fan, I think if the football is entertaining, I can't lie that the counter attack it looks it's dangerous. It looks. I mean, even if you're just looking at the way it looks, it does look entertaining. And it's something it is definitely entertaining to watch. I mean, people are criticizing it heavy, the way that Tottenham are playing. But I honestly don't see any problem with it. I don't see it as even being. I don't even think they even parking the bus is not even the best way to describe it. They play when they attack. So what's Calvin asking? What are my thoughts on Arteta? Do you trust the process?
Is there a process to trust?
Is there a process to trust? You see, that's also a very good question as well. Also, the question is his process? Is he being allowed to implement his process? Those things I can't even answer. Because if he was, I don't think there is no ways any player, any manager would leave a player like Ozil out the squad. I know people are saying that no one is saying anything about Ozil beforehand when he wasn't playing. I think is it Paul Merson who was saying that everyone was quiet before when Ozil was out the squad last year, and then only people
when you guys are doing well. When you're doing well.
Yeah, and then people only started commenting when now they're seeing that look, now we're losing matches. But I think it's just, it's an obvious thing. Even if you're going to have him on the bench, geez, you can't leave him out the squad entirely. There's no one there who replaces him. But yeah, look, let me focusing on the game that on Sunday. My man. Yes, we had our opportunities, but again, didn't score them. Aubameyang looking like looking like they ducked a few crosses. I don't know. And then also in the defending as well, like I was saying, Rob Holding and them. I get you. Yes, your coach tells you, okay, back off your defenders when you're defending, but it's Son, left foot, right foot. anywhere that guy can put a ball in top corner, and all they're doing is running back and they're giving him space. They're basically telling him, shoot. I also do think that the keeper could have done a bit better. I mean, if I look at listen. You're not listening. You're not listening. Maybe it's the way of defending. I don't know. Listen, I'm saying he got very close, but if you look at just the way everything looked, is that, I mean, knowing Son, even when I was sitting there, I knew this guy was going to pop a shot. Everyone's backing up. There's that much space. And if I look at, if you look at Wijnaldum and Pogba's goal was also good as well. But all these things, they're coming around players. They're coming around players, high pace. Their keeper has direct sight of the ball as well. But look, I'm not saying that if he saves that, the ball goes in. But I do think he could do a bit better. I genuinely
tell me about Thomas Partey. What did Thomas Partey do there? I know he was injured, but he was injured. The team, and the man just walks off the field and lets that guy run past him. Is he mad?
Yeah, I also don't know what the heck he was thinking.
But he was injured, guys.
This is.
But he couldn't drive, guys.
The man's born in Africa there, bro. In the depth of the middle of Africa there. You're telling me he was injured?
Maybe it wasn't a physical injury, it was more, it was looking around him like, what is this, like, I'm just gonna limp off, I'm taking a break.
But I think Partey as well, like him getting off the field like that, for me, even it tells me a lot. Like, are you fighting for anything? That's the question. Are you fighting for anything, or are you just there because manager called you? You're able to pay off. Now you've got a big contract. You paid off many guys.
Scotty's right.
Yeah, but I don't know. Partey, for me, if you're fighting for something, I don't think he's just jumping off the field like that.
If I'm Thomas Partey right now, I'm like, what the flip was I thinking? I left the club that's top of La Liga right now, and that's looking good to actually win the La Liga title because Real Madrid and Barca are not serious. And I'm going to a club who's now number 14. No.
Funny enough, they even gave that's the same play they gave Torreira to that side, eh?
Exactly. Torreira that side. Yeah.
Now Partey comes here. But Arsenal, there's a lot of problems, man. Then you add politics to it, and you're like, oh my word, yeah. But for me, I don't care about the politics. They should be playing. I mean, gee whiz.
Relegation battle.
But Spurs, at the end of the day, Spurs did play well. I mean, 2 shots, and you can't complain much about either one of them. But yeah, Arsenal again, poor defending, and Spurs, as expected, capitalized. And you have to be good. You have to be clinical. And they were.
Matt, tell me. Is this was it an easy day out for you guys or?
No, I mean, so what I love about the way Spurs are playing at the moment, and there's a lot of talk about Mourinho setting the trap. You know what he's going to do, and teams are still falling for it. But the thing that I think is the most difficult for teams to deal with. You look at the Arsenal game and the City game. Afterwards, both managers were talking about how they had so much possession. We should have won this game. We had more possession. Arteta with us, we had 32 crosses. And they sort of confused themselves into thinking they had a good day and got unlucky. And that's what I love about Mourinho's tactics, because you guys didn't. It's not like you were unlucky. That's exactly what Mourinho set us up to do. And we knew beforehand that's how he was going to play. He's going to sit deep, control the game, be intense, wait for you to make a mistake, hit you on the counter. It's exactly what happened. We all knew that was going to happen. But still, Arsenal walked into it. Like, what's going to happen if I throw all my men forward and keep 2 at the back? Like, we're going to score. And after the game,
Arteta's still making the point. One of them.
We had a chance. We were on top of this. We had so many opportunities. And that's what I love about the way Mourinho set up the side. Even a lot of the commentators and the pundits are looking at them and saying, oh, but there's a lot of positives for Arsenal to take. And Mourinho, I can imagine, is just rubbing his hands together, because now the next side is going to come up against us. Is going to, again, walk into the same trap and think, if we just play a little bit better than Arsenal did, we can win this game. And I think that's the genius of what Mourinho's done, is kind of create this team, and people say, it looks like parking the bus. But if you really watch it, it's not parking the bus. It's a completely different mindset. It plays to our strengths so much. We're a fantastic counter-attacking side, and we always have been. The difference is we were never tight at the back. So we'd score 6, concede 8, that kind of thing. And now what's happening is we're so intense at the back, and credit to Mourinho for how he's changed our defense. You look at the likes of Eric Dyer, and Serge Aurier, who for a long time, even Spurs fans would look at them and think they're a little bit questionable in their positioning and decision-making and stuff. But now, a mammoth. I mean, Aurier was a monster on the field against you guys, and he created, of course, the second goal. Within a matter of seconds, cuts off, intercepts an attempted through ball, turns around, puts the attackers away, and then it's 4-on-2 in the other half. And I think that speed of the transitions and the way every player knows exactly where to run. And you saw them as soon as I saw there was a gap, there was 4 Spurs players running exactly where they need to be. No one was bumping into each other or running over each other. It was just phenomenal. And I mean, and from Arsenal's side, we talked about it over the weekend. They're trying this thing where they're asking us all a question about whether do you need goals to be playing football? Is that all it's about? You know, they're getting minimalist about everything. And I think it's, next week maybe they're going to say, if we don't need goals, we even need the ball.
I saw a very interesting stat the other day. In the last 8 matches, you guys have three goals, Premier League matches. You got 5 foul throws. You got more foul throws than goals.
And they're all by one player.
Bellerin.
I mean, I've never played pro, but is that not something you guys discuss at the top level? Like, this is how you go.
You can't make foul throw.
At that level, a coach can't be making all the other professionals wait to teach this guy how to.
And he's taking them. He's being designated, like he's definitely been told, "You taking the throw-ins. It's you." And that's what people start throwing.
Right back and left back take throw-ins, guys. We know this from long ago. Right back and left back.
Yeah, but I mean, I think they could afford to maybe skip shooting practice one day and just do throw-ins, because shooting practice is clearly a waste.
But you see, like what Scott's saying, not Scott. What Matt is saying about even. I remember Mourinho was Chelsea. I can't remember which match he played, but even after the game, he said that he knew the team was going to cross. But his team was better at headering at them. So he allowed that to happen. He said he allowed it to happen. Allow them to cross. That's what you want them to do. As soon as they cross, the ball is ours. You header it to go. It probably could have been against Arsenal, to be honest with you. It could have been against Arsenal, genuinely. Then he allowed the team to cross, and then they went on and they counted them. But I can't understand it, and it still frustrates me that how does Arsenal walk into something like that? You know it's going to happen, and you literally just open your team to it with the Harry Kane and Son on the end of it. That's madness. I don't know.
And the one chance Aubameyang had, there was that one late on in the second half where Aubameyang got put through. They managed to cut up the Spurs defense, and it was him on Alderweireld, and Alderweireld ended up just snuffling it out, stayed on his feet, watched him.
Yes, I remember.
Wanted him. And you just think a year ago, Aubameyang would have turned that situation into a goal.
Yeah.
And would have fake shot.
There's something.
He didn't even look confident in the shot.
It's like he was resigned to it already. You could see from his body language, he was maybe just hoping to win a corner. And I think that's a huge indictment on his confidence. And also, that was probably the one decent chance he had at his feet. There was obviously a couple of crosses that he should have done better with, but those ones you can never be 100% sure because there's defenders on him. But it was. I just think Arsenal are not. They're not looking at the way they should be. They're not.
I'm personally a believer of process, and obviously he wants to implement a style of play which is hopefully for Arsenal's sake going to be fruitful in the years to come. But there's a fine line where you just push it too much. The guys need to learn how to win first and foremost. And then I think the process can actually follow after that. I know there are philosophers here who are very stringent on the fact that, no, you need to play a certain way. For me, the only way to play football is to win. Because if I'm losing every week, it's what is the point? Where's the joy in that? I like football because it's joyous and it's fun and it gives me pleasure. But if we're losing every week or we playing for no purpose, then it makes no sense. And there's obviously serious problems.
That's why you hate Steve Bruce, but you love him.
Exactly.
But also,
but you hate him, but you love him.
But when we win, but when we win, I don't care. I honestly don't care, especially for a team like mine. If I'm winning a game, I can have my beer and I can tell my friends how shit my team is. But Callum Wilson scores a goal from a John Joe Shelby cross. There's no better feeling at the end of the weekend. But when there's just no purpose and Wonga, for me, it just, and I think we had a comment here. You guys have so many crosses with no end product. Too much possession. What is the point, really? what is the point?
Yeah,
you
you
know?
see,
And I
the
think
thing
that
is,
alludes to South African football more so. You've seen it in this country.
mm,
You know, teams and fans get excited because of a good pass, or the amount of passes you have, or the amount of possession you have in the middle third. You know, Gavin
yeah,
Hunt said something so profound a couple of years ago at a conference that I was at. If the World Cup was played in a way where the goals were on the halfway line, South Africa would be the winning team every year, because passing the ball sideways and backwards does not win you football matches. And there's a lot of people who follow sort of processes and philosophies here in this country that will like that. And that's why your Bielsas and your Guardiolas are so popular in world football. But Jurgen Klopp came and showed the world that you don't need to play like that. You can have possession, but you can also kick the ball forward and run and be
And to be honest,
sort
if
of.
Arsenal were playing anyway, like if they were playing in the South African league, they'd probably still find themselves
That's
in the middle.
probably Maritzburg would probably beat them.
Yeah,
It doesn't look
but
like a team that can go out and win every game that they play, to be honest.
because they're not creating clear-cut chances. You're not saying that Hugo Lloris made like the most amazing save I've ever seen in my life type of thing.
Nah.
It's half chances.
Do you not also think though? Mosa, you've played in teams. When the teams get together, the actual players after half time, or there's a bit of a huddle there. You hear stories of, and maybe not even the professional ranks. I've been in, sort of team talks with just the players, and the players are like, kind of, listen, let's just do whatever we can just to win the fucking game. We just want to win the game. And, the players are not stupid. They've played under different managers in their career. They can sort of get they're adults. They can get their heads together and think, okay, well, how can we beat or try and at least attempt to beat Spurs,
But
especially when like players have
that called Rob Holding.
What?
You see Rob Holding the whole defense when Son scored. Think about it. Common sense would have told you to just, in that situation, Son's got the ball. He can score from there. This. But they all backed off and they gave him acres of space. I think he had literally 5 seconds. They could have stopped there with the line, but they gave him those 5 seconds, and he said, "Phew." So I'm also questioning that. Is it exactly can they think for themselves?
Common sense should prevail. When it gets to a point where Arsenal are in the bottom 5 or the bottom 6. Common sense should prevail, because you should have your sort of your own integrity to try and keep intact there, and your own dignity to try preserve.
But also what you're saying about the team lifting themselves up, I think it goes back to the question about Partey as well, hobbling off and saying he's injured. And then you look, there was a similar incident with Højbjerg where he got clattered in the head, and they made him go off because he was bleeding. And he was arguing with them to stay on the field. He didn't want to go off, and he went off, and they did the check, whatever, and he came back on. And the first opportunity, he sprinted back to where he needed to be. He knew exactly where on the field he was supposed to be. I think that difference of that intensity, that makes a difference. We talked about it with Liverpool before, and the difference when Henderson's not on, because he brings that intensity. And there's no one at Arsenal at the moment who seems to be doing that, who's looking around and saying, what is this? What are we doing? Just, forget tactics, forget philosophy. What are we actually doing? Where are you standing? Why aren't you running?
Arteta also has to remember, he's come from learning under the tutelage of Guardiola, but he doesn't have Guardiola's players. That's the difference. He doesn't have Guardiola's players. So I think the quicker he gets that to sort of in his head, I think the better chance he's got to sort of salvage something from the season. And I thought they were on the up, but I struggle to see where the players will trust his process if it continues to go this way. And it looked like there was evidence of that on the weekend. But Matt, I wanted to ask you to speak about Spurs. Is there a place for Bale in this team?
I was actually thinking about that on the weekend. I was actually chatting to a friend about it as well. It's like at the moment we're so potent, and he is an alternative. He's a different kind of player. And I think when there are games where we're struggling to unlock, like it made sense when you got deadlock, someone where we're not quite finding it so easy to create chances, and you've got Bale as an option, which seems a shame because he seems such a good player to just be that backup plan. But at the moment, and I think what Mourinho does really well is he doesn't allow people to trade on a name. He's not just going to put Bale in because he's Bale. He's got a system that's working really well. He's not going to mess that up just for the sake of it. And I think for Bale's part, let's be honest, he's probably used to sitting on the bench after his time at Real Madrid. So I think hopefully, I think we've also got a long season ahead, and we don't have the squad depth of Chelsea and others. I mean, we've got good depth. We've got better depth than we've had for a long time, but it's still maybe one player extra per position, not like Chelsea where they can field 3 or 4 sides. And so I think there's going to be a lot of football to play for Bale and Lucas Moura as well, who's not getting a lot of game time at the moment, and Vinicius, who's just playing in the Europa League. I think these players are going to play a lot more. And I think what's awesome is that because of the way Mourinho is instilling the way we play, I think they will slot in. Bale is also capable of good counter-attacking football. He can, when his eyes in, when he's back in form, and I think it will take a while because he hasn't played as much football as over the last few years. But I mean, he's also capable of taking a chance if it's presented to him. Just look at the goal reel of his first time with Spurs. He'll score the big goals. So I think over the course of the season we'll see a lot more of him. But at the moment, you'd be silly to think that we need to slot him in alongside Son and Kane.
What a pleasure! If you can't break a team down, what a pleasure to have bringing on the likes of Gareth Bale. And I mean, I think it alludes back to that fact, when February time comes and you guys are still in cup competitions and European competitions, I think the depth is going to be very important for you. And I think, Wonga, just to put the final nail in your coffin tonight, it looks like Lampard is going to push Arteta over the edge on the 27th. So Kevin's told you to book it.
He's only going to beat him at the end of it. Yes, you can't push Arsenal further.
I think Musa won't disagree with Kevin at all there. But let's move on to another team that just won't go away. They dropped points this season. We thought they could potentially, throw, the season away because they had so many injuries, COVID cases, but they just keep doing what champions do. They keep winning. They're winning quite comfortably against a very fancied Wolves team. Celo, what do you think of Claudio's Merseyside Red Army?
No, I think we all predicted a victory for Liverpool. Obviously differing, I think, score predictions last week, but I don't think anyone predicted a scoreline more than 3-0. So it actually shows, that Liverpool, as you said, at home, they just keep winning 64 matches unbeaten at home in a row. And then on top of that, the fans were back in the stadium, which obviously helped out, And I think, what you actually see in most of the teams that had supporters this weekend, when they celebrated looking at the fans, just say yes, type of thing. Everyone ran to the fans, wherever the fans were, just to say, hey, it's good to have you guys back. And that little bit of atmosphere added on to a Liverpool game, and it spurred on Liverpool's side, and also to have Trent back in the team, creating that 4th goal. I think Liverpool will just keep marching on, and we just have to hope that they slip up at some point in time. And the teams that are chasing them, but that are in and around them, just need to make sure that they keep winning. And when they face Liverpool, they need to take their chances and hopefully the other top 6, top 7 teams also give Liverpool for their money. But I definitely see them being there at the end of the season as one of the top 2 teams.
Yeah, it was good to see the amount of pride that a lot of the players carried for that Liverpool jersey on the day. You could see that they wanted to express, wanted to actually show that, they don't have the full squad available. There are a lot of injuries in the squad, but if given a chance, any of the players can come on and do the job. And that's a key mark of a team that does win championships and can accomplish a lot. You don't have to have the 11 available every week, but every player that you do give an opportunity to does come to the party very well.
And I think it's also worth bearing in mind how long Liverpool have been playing this well. They won last season at a canter, really. They were so far ahead of everyone else. But the season before that, when they finished second, every other season in history, they would have won the league. They only finished second to a truly out-of-this-world Man City side. So this has been a long time coming. It's not, and I think we were almost, partly kind of fooled by Klopp paying, oh, look at me, Gov, I've got no players. But they are still a phenomenal side. Even when you take out a few key players, they've still got guys who jump in. Look at what Jota's been doing, and Matip also huge in defence, although he's also injured in that. But we're talking about players who've over the course of 3 seasons have been getting progressively better and have been working together and he's instilled that kind of siege mentality of we're going to go up against the entire league, we're going to rewrite history, we're going to undo the doubters, and that can't be sniffed at. That mentality, and we talk about it, that's made the difference at Spurs. Spurs haven't suddenly become an amazing side. The mentality is what's changed, and it's the same with Liverpool. It's the mental fortitude that they take into every game. So look at a game against Wolves, who, as you said, are they're a decent, well-drilled side. They're going to punish a lot of good teams. To go into that and with the confidence to take the game to them and take ownership and run it, that doesn't come from nowhere, I think, and that's not going to go away overnight. I think it's going to take a lot. I think it'll be interesting to see Spurs Liverpool, which is in 2 weeks now. That's going to be that's probably the game where you can really judge Tottenham's title credentials. I think that if we come out of that game unscathed, I think then we could really make a go of it. I've said before, this Christmas period, Boxing Day is when I'll really sort of say how well Spurs are doing. And so far, we've passed huge tests. In City, Chelsea, Arsenal, we've come away with 7 points. If you've offered us that before, we definitely would have taken it. So I think it's going to be huge.
And I think for me, and just contrasting to an Arsenal with an apparent process that Arteta wants to instill, you've got a side that Klopp's coaching that has been not consistent at all in terms of what starting 11s he puts out since the beginning of the season, because they have had injuries after injuries, COVID cases, you name it, and other tournaments to play in, but they still manage to get over the line and they get the victories that they need. And I think that's proof that, there are players there that are playing for the manager and they'll win at all costs. They'll play out of position and they will fight for the team no matter what. Do you think Diego Jota would have been happy with sitting on the bench against his old team after the form he's been in? And he still comes off and he still performs well. And like you said, it was, the fact of the matter is that's the first time that they've seen their fans since they've won the league, and the first time they'd won the league in 30 years. So I think they were there and they went to go prove a point, because that was the first time they could actually go and show their title credentials and go and enjoy. That's the first time they could actually celebrate. And if you look at the makeup of his actual lineup, he went with players that were there last season. Gini went and proved why they should be offering him another contract.
Double the money, man. Double the money.
Double the money, Hendo there steering the ship. So I think it's going to take a lot for them to sort of be pushed off the mantelpiece per se. But I think I agree with you, Matt. It is going to be a titanic game when you guys play against them. I think it's next weekend, if I'm not mistaken. But is it this weekend? Next weekend?
This weekend we've got Palace, I think.
Yeah. So
first,
yeah.
I don't know what you think, Wonga, in terms of the amount of injuries that Liverpool currently have. Would you, if you were Klopp, would you dip into the transfer window?
I think that's a tough one, because everyone else is proving themselves. Yeah, that is a tough question to ask. If I was Klopp, I think, given the current form that the team has, I think maybe one or two players. I think one or two players would probably be sufficient, but I don't think he's going to go out there and spend huge in there. You got. Look, I know Van Dijk is not there, but Matip. Showed Matip. We know Matip is good there. They got that other youngster. I can't remember what his name was. The one who played against Atlanta.
Williams.
Long hair. Williams. Yeah, he's also he's a bit dicey, but they still managed, like you said, to get over the line with him. And there's also that was it the boy playing on the wing. I was very impressed with
Jones.
Jones.
Yeah. He's also very good as well. I honestly think Liverpool. They don't. I don't. If they do get someone, I think they'll only get one player. If they do, but I honestly don't think they need to get anyone. Up front, they're solid still. up
all
front
about
they're
the
still
price.
solid.
Liverpool's all about money. If there's a good player that they maybe have been looking at for a while that comes at a good price, then I think they might get him. But if it doesn't make sense, then I don't think they need to dip into the market.
Like they got Thiago now. Thiago, they got him, and now, but he's probably out for the season. Do they need to replace him?
But I
don't think so.
I think there's a lot of sides. I think all the sides that are going to be in the title challenge are going to be looking around. They're going to think to stand still is to move backwards. I'd be surprised if any of the top six don't do, even if it's just to bring in a couple of backup players. There's such a lot of football to be played in the second half of the season.
I agree.
I think we'll see all of the top six bring in a couple of squad players at least, just to where they're starting to see that we need numbers. That each side has got their area where they know they're a little bit light, and they'll be looking at who can they bring in, who can they have in backup and reserve. And I think Liverpool's the same.
For a team like Liverpool, who's going to have, Selo, a team that's going to have many players probably at the World Cup, at the Euro Championships, this is going to be pretty much 2 years of straight football for a lot of players that are going to be fighting for that title. So I wouldn't put it past, and I agree with that statement, Matt, where I think just for the preservation of the players, you might need to. You don't want players breaking down just before the World Cup or just when they get back. Not for the World Cup, the Euros, or just when they get back from the Euros. But if you do look at it, I think for me, a Liverpool still need a centre half. Maybe they might not need to spend the 80 million on Koulibaly, but I think that void that Virgil van Dijk leaves is something worth a lot of points in this league. At least 7 or 8.
Maybe like a £60 million player.
Yeah, but there's some smart players. There's some smart buys to be had. You look, Spurs bought in that Joe Rodon from Swansea, and he's now played a couple of games for us now. And he wasn't a huge player. Who would you buy from Arsenal, Scott?
Scotty says you must buy from Arsenal.
The only signing I wanted from Arsenal was Gunnosaurus. I wanted to see him in a Spurs down the sidelines in front of Arsenal.
Gunnosaurus at the moment.
Get him at White Hart.
Sign him up, Daniel Levy. Do it. But, no, I think you're dead right. Like Nick, there's so much football to be played between now and then come the end of the season, then there's European football, and then it's back into it again. And there are bargains to be had. There's solid players in lower leagues, and there's some really good deals you can get. And I think for teams like Liverpool, they've got to find unearth those guys who aren't going to come in and expect to play every week, but who can step in and do a job when they're called on. That's what Joe Rodon's been for us at Spurs. And I think Chelsea's got a couple of guys also who've still stepped up and really done the business. I think side like Liverpool probably needs to do that. They've got a couple of gaps that they're going to potentially have to fill.
And I think that's that's exactly it. You spoke about Klopp and the season that they had before they won the title. They arguably were. I don't know how many of the other Premier League seasons would they have won the league. I think majority of them with that amount of points total. And I think we spoke about this before. How do you keep a team stimulated? How do you keep a team so much on your side to believe in what you are actually wanting them to do and for them to go run through a brick wall? After 3 years of doing that week in, week out, that stimulation from the players might not be there and credit to Klopp. I think that's going to be his biggest challenge. I do think maybe there is one or two replacements that he can sort of add, or not replacements, additions to the squad. But can he just keep them ticking over week in, week out? If he can do it this season for 3 years in a row, I mean, I take my hat off to you.
To be fair, some of his signings have been excellent in that element. They bring that energy where you start looking at the combinations that he's created over the past 3 years and say, oh, does Firmino find himself out because Jota's been purchased and added to the team? Those type of are very, very good for keeping the energy up in the team, and that's potentially what he has to do going forward. Sure.
No, I agree with you, and we're looking at. We've spoken about the good form of Spurs. Liverpool are flying as we speak. We speak about Chelsea that are on a run of note. our final topic for the day or the evening is how will
Probably we should
I
say who will
will
finish.
finish top 4.
Claudio,
we have to give our answer
did you
in
do that on
Yoda's voice.
purpose?
That's Claudio, eh?
I think he was killing me there. But how will the top 4 finish? I don't know if
How
you had
will
a
top
beer
4
before you. Yeah, how will the top 4 finish? Wonga, you go first. I want to hear your thoughts. We'll go from you. We'll go to Celo, Musa, and we'll finish with Matt.
Yeah, I think I definitely think Liverpool will take this league again. Second and third place, I definitely the way things are going now, I definitely think so. Not easy to say, but I think Chelsea will finish one above Tottenham. Tottenham finishing third. Matt laughing. And Man City, I just don't think. Man City, yes, they are picking up games, but I can't see them. Especially, let's see what they do in the transfer window. Especially if they're not having a full-on out-and-out striker, someone similar to Aguero. I don't see them doing the top 3. I can see them finishing 4th. They would surprise me if they do finish above that. Yeah, let me not take too much time to say, but yeah, that's my 1, 2, 3, 4.
No, I think the league title will be Liverpool's this season. Second, I'm going to give it to Spurs just because of Mourinho's mindset. And then third, I'll give it to Chelsea. And then fourth, I'm going to give it to Man United, Red Devils. Man City is going to be up top 4 this season. They're in 5th.
Yes, shoot, could happen.
That's a great call.
Good.
I guess on that note, I'm gonna back my own team as well. I think I've been pleasantly surprised to see the quality and the performances that they have managed to secure. We have pulled a good run of form over this past season where, with all the new players that we have, I'd expected us to drop a lot more points than we have so far because they'd be figuring out a lot more combinations. So yeah, I think there's only room for growth given the players that we have, the coach's mentality. There are a lot of independent winners in the team, which have won a lot in world football and can continue to win. So I'm giving it to Chelsea for top spot. I think we're going to pip Liverpool on that one, given they...
Shot fired.
Yeah, just like that, Chief. But it's fair because, yeah, man, we're there in and amongst the top 4. We're still figuring out a lot of the combinations and the signings. As you said, how do you keep a team like a very successful team energized? And sometimes it's with the signings and having that the sharpness of a manager like Lampard. You could see the way he approaches his management role when you play against a Tottenham, when you play against another team where you have to look at strategy a little bit more differently, and he's doing that very, very well. He might get tested in the Champions League, but I think we should be able to get the league in the bag. Pipping Liverpool because it'll just the ethos and the mentality that they've ingrained in the team will still continue, and the players that they've brought onto the addition will produce some results for them. I do think Tottenham have the power to actually play. I mean, Mourinho is one of those coaches who does do very, very well in his second season. It might be against his grain to not win it this time, but I think the other 2 teams ahead of them will have a lot more going for them at this point in time. And then I have to give it to Man City. They will fix it. They will get a striker. They will look a lot more menacing going forward and will get the results. Whereas I don't see this trend of Manchester United coming back from behind being sustainable going forward.
Oh, this is a tough one because as a Spurs fan, it's really hard to it's really hard to say. But I'm going to say, I reckon. Look, let me say, I think it's going to be really, really tight. I don't think any side is going to run away with it. I don't think Spurs are going to win by 15 points. I think they'll win by 4 or 5 points quite late on. But I reckon Spurs are going to win. I reckon I'm going to back the team. I've got to stick on my guns. Mourinho's put the system we're playing, the mentality we've got, and even for the first time in a long time, it feels like we've also got options if Kane were to get injured, because inevitably he does. Inevitably our goals dry up. This time around, it doesn't feel that way. It feels like we've got more options than we've had in the past. And I think it's Spurs' second. It's Mourinho's second season. He wins something. We're looking really good. I think Spurs are going to win it. I think it's going to be tight. I think Liverpool and Chelsea are going to be right there. I'm going to say I reckon Liverpool are going to finish second, just because that winning mentality they've got and the intensity they play with isn't going to go away. And I think Chelsea will be third. But I think those three are going to be significantly sort of detached from the rest of the group. And I reckon fourth. I'm also going to go City. I don't see United being able to sustain a top four challenge, just because they do consistently fall behind. And I think credit to them for turning it around. But like you said, Monster, that's not sustainable. You can't go a whole season like that. And there will be too many sides who can keep them at arm's length once they go ahead in the league. And I think that's going to punish them over the course of the season. So I reckon City are going to pip fourth place. Although, you can't also discount Leicester. That's a solid side. And I don't think United will be fifth. I think Leicester will be fifth. Once we get out the top four. I just think that the consistency that Leicester are capable of is that little bit better than United. I just think they've also got some proven slightly more mature heads in the side at Leicester. Vardy, for all his madness, he's mature in the sense that he knows how to win a game, and he'll knuckle down. So I think it will be a tough season for United. I do think Arsenal will not get relegated. I think they've got enough to stay up. I said it last week. I'll say it again. I think they'll probably survive.
We should figure out the bottom four next time.
Yeah, next time let's do the bottom three and see who's bold enough to pick Arsenal. But I reckon, I think they're going to be. It's going to be a really interesting season. But I do think that top three are probably going to be a little bit detached from the rest of the crowd. I think it's going to separate. At the moment, there's only about 5 points between first and ninth or whatever. I think that's going to spread. I think that we're going to see a bit more of a gap, and I do think the top three are going to step away from the rest of the chasing pack. But yeah, Spurs are going to win it. I've done it. I should place a bet. Actually,
my uncle Ronnie doesn't agree with you. He personally doesn't. I think he thinks my team has a better chance than yours.
You've got a better chance than Arsenal, that's for sure.
James, I need to rush off. I need to rush off to another meeting.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go with the same. Oh, he had to leave us. But I'm gonna go with I just have a feeling. So it's either, for me, I think Spurs have a great chance. But my only fear, Matt, from your perspective, is if the wheels start falling off. You've seen Mourinho change rooms go sour. So I worry that it will become a title challenge in the first, say, 3/4 or 2/3 of the season, and then it's a situation of you guys trying to salvage a top four position. And it's happened with him before, but I'm going to go with Spurs winning the league. I'm going to go with Liverpool finishing second and Chelsea finishing third, but with all in the amount of 4 or 5 points. It's going to be very tight. I somehow think if Man United can make a managerial change and bring someone in and fix that back four up, I somehow see them there and thereabouts. But I'm going to go with City for a top four position. And I do think if Man United aren't to do that and City don't fall apart, I think the top four will actually be a lot tighter than it's ever been. And I think that the total difference between all the points will be about 6 or 7. Has it ever happened? I don't think so. But it is going to be exciting. It changes every week, lads. Next week, Wonga might be saying he's going to win the league.
No, not next week, champ.
Ronnie, come on, man. Ronnie's on board. But
all I know is Man United are not going to win the league. Ronnie's a Man United fan. All I know, Ronnie, Man United aren't going to win the league. He says
I didn't realize. Sometimes when you got context. Now that I understand, don't worry, Ronnie. You do. That's been another good show of the cool down, a nice breakdown of the weekend's matches. I'm hoping that Newcastle United are going to play this weekend against West Brom. I've actually missed us. I missed how shit we are, but we play in West Brom. We might have a chance if we've got enough players. But this has been the cool down. We'll see you guys on Thursday for pre-match Muti. Any final thoughts, lads?
There's no
well,
chance
nothing from
Arsenal
me.
is going to be in the top 4 in the next 2 seasons, I'd even say. Cheers.
I'll second
See you
that.
on Thursday.
Nah, I would have said 2 seasons. Cheers.
Cheers, cheers.